What are you guys at? What time is it there?
4 p.m.
4 p.m. Okay. So your day is like kind of right in the middle. You've been busy today?
Yeah, yeah. I'm an online coach, so every day is a busy day.
Yeah. How's so you're located where exactly?
I'm located in Aberdeen in Scotland, so
That's
right up the very top of Scotland.
hmm How's everything going there? I know the UK kind of went through a tough time. I guess they're still in lockdown and everything.
Yeah, we're still in lockdown. It's just been extended until the 1st of March.
Mm,
So fingers crossed we get out of the lockdown there, but this has been the third one
yeah,
since March
yeah, because
last year, which is crazy.
yeah, they had that new mutation that came out of the UK for the COVID virus, and now they're seeing it everywhere in the US too. Yeah, so it's tough. How's it been affected your your business and your fitness life in general?
So to begin with, I actually used to be a personal trainer in the gym,
Hmm.
but I was in the process of transitioning into online anyway. But I was
Yeah,
too scared to take that initial leap because it would have been a pay cut to begin with.
yeah.
Putting my PT aside, but with lockdown, it just made the transition. I had to transition into lockdown because all the gyms was closed. So it actually worked out in my favor, but it has been really difficult making sure that all of my clients is okay because mentally it's more right now I'm more well-being coaching more than actually fitness
Mhm.
coaching from a mindset perspective, because I think that's one of the most important things, especially when the majority of people are stuck from home and they're all working, they're eating, they're training from their living rooms.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a huge change. So did you how can I put this? Was this like a big shock to you that the gyms were closing like initially when you converted to online, or did you kind of already see it coming? Like you kind of were already preparing for it?
But back in March, I didn't think it would have been as serious as what it
Mhm.
essentially is now. I think the way the UK has run things,
Mhm.
I don't necessarily agree with.
Mhm.
Just with the fact that your mental health and your physical health is should be a huge priority.
Sure.
One of the main reasons that they're saying that is causing more an increase in deaths is obesity.
Mhm.
And how can we tackle obesity if all of our gyms is closed?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I completely understand. It's like it's hard to like figure it out. Yeah, it's one thing or another because well, it causes more, death for pre-existing conditions, obesity being, a major one. Like a huge one in the US, number one is obesity as well. Like most people are obese. I mean, unfortunately, that's the case. So it's they're prime targets for a virus like this. So it's yeah, it's a tough situation to be in.
What is
So
America? You're Canada, aren't you're from Canada, aren't you? Or are you the
no,
US?
I'm from the U.S. Well, I live in the U.S. Originally, I'm from Russia, but
Oh wow.
but
How was the US handling COVID just
so
now?
here's the thing: in the U.S., every state is creates their own
Yeah.
like way to conduct things, and so here's the interesting thing. Um, Not only every state, but now we also in each state have different counties. So each county has their own like rules
Regulation.
and regulations. So I might be here in my county in Davidson and we have, let's say, mandatory mask wearing inside public places, and then I go to a county in 30 minutes from here and they don't have that, and it's everybody's different. But from where I am in Nashville, Tennessee, in my area, as far as gyms, they're limited capacity, so they're open but they're limited capacity. And it's been pretty much like that like initially they shut down like it was with you, and then they reopened with limited capacity, and they pretty much stayed that way the entire time. So it's it's better than nothing, of course, and you want to protect people. So, but at least it gives people a chance to train and work out. The problem comes in is when people don't enforce like the rules and regulations in their gyms. So like you'll go to a gym and you'll be wearing your mask and you'll be like distancing from other people and wiping down things, and then someone else besides you doesn't do that at all, and that's kind of frustrating, but I mean, you can't guess you can't do everything, it's just the way it is.
I know it's crazy, but I think it is good that gyms, or I think gyms is probably one of the safest places to be because
Mhm.
everybody is wiping and cleaning their
Right.
equipment after use. Whereas if you go to the supermarket, everybody's touching everything,
Oh,
everybody's
absolutely.
really close to each other. It just, I think they need to think of the bigger picture, I think, but they're obviously trying to think about
Mhm.
everybody, and I understand how hard that decision must be.
Sure, sure. It's not just about people that go to the gym,
Yeah.
it's about everybody. So it's a tough situation. Like I haven't, been seeing my grandmother as much and so forth. And, I love to, but I also don't I would feel terrible if she got something from me, So it's one of those things. So how did you to kind of pivot from that, how did you get into fitness and training in general? Like when did that start for you?
So I have always had a really competitive background. Ever since I was a young age, I competed in swimming across the country, and I was also a competitive Highland dancer, if you've ever heard of that.
So I was in Scotland many, many years ago. Yeah, and so I have an idea. Can you kind of explain it to people that might be listening and don't know what that is?
So Highland dancing is the Scottish traditional dance. So
Hmm.
basically, we have to wear a kilt.
Uh-huh.
We have the full regime on. We basically dance to the bagpipes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so I competed to that to a very very high standard.
Mhm.
I competed in world championships. I competed over in the US because there is actually Highland dancing over with you guys as well.
Yeah.
um, so I was very, very competitive in dancing and swimming. I was very, very regimented. It took up a lot of my time with training. So already I had that competitive streak, and I had a background of just being able to stay focused and have a goal. But I went on a school trip over to Switzerland where we was skiing, and unfortunately, I had a really bad skiing accident. I fell when I was going over a jump. I
Mm.
broke my collarbone. I snapped the
Ooh,
ligaments in my knee, and
wow.
basically, I was in a cast for I'm sure it was 13 months. 13 months as I had to get 4 operations
Hmm.
on my knee to basically repair all the damage that was done. And because I was competing to such a high standard, I couldn't get back up to the
What
level that
what
I was
age was that? I'm
before.
sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. What age did you have that
I was
accident?
14. I was
Mhm.
14, and by the time I recovered, I think I was nearly 16 at the time.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
basically, I took the gym up for rehab, basically just to give me something to do because I was so lost in that period from
Yeah.
being from working out and focusing on a goal and a target 7 days a week to
Mhm.
then suddenly nothing was tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a huge trauma, especially for I mean anybody really, but especially for someone who's 14 years old, who's kind of like revels in competition and training and like you said dance and all these other things, and to take a such a huge just immediate chop to your to your I guess I could say career, is it's got to be tough. How did you deal with it mentally?
Mentally it was really hard because at school I did PE was one of my favorite classes, and I
Mhm.
couldn't sit my exams because of my injury, because
Mhm.
of my leg brace, and it was just mentally hard to deal with because I got bullied at school for it as well because it was one of those casts that had dials on the side.
Oh
So
wow.
every month my leg, because my ligaments had snapped, my leg was basically just
Yeah. Yeah.
there was nothing holding it together. So each month, um, I would go to the doctors and they would basically tighten the reins on my
Mhm.
cast so my leg could bend a little bit more every single
Mhm.
time. But yeah, I got bullied at school for basically having a robot cast, and I couldn't sit my
That's terrible.
exams, and then my sports got taken away from me. So
Mhm.
it was a really, really tough time, and I did feel mentally a little bit lost in that time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's how it's, you know, as a child, that's such a traumatic thing. But I was talking to a guy at my gym, and it's a weird thing. But he now he's older, obviously, than 14. But he was playing with his, believe his kids or grandkids. He's got to be probably, I would say, in his 50s, mid 50s, late 50s, and he was jumping on a trampoline, and he just, for some crazy reason, jumped the wrong way, landed the wrong way, and all his ligaments and everything just tore. And he was literally paralyzed for quite a while because he couldn't use his legs. Not because like of his backbone or anything like that, but just from the injury to the legs. And he said mentally it was so hard. Sometimes he would just sit there and just cry. Like that's all. And it's a grown big man, and he would just sit there, he said, and just cry, because of just the trauma mentally that he was going through dealing with this injury, not to be able to walk, have people help you everywhere. I assume it was like a similar experience for you.
Oh yeah, that sounds absolutely heartbreaking. But yeah, it was quite similar in the sense that I've broken quite a few bones in my time, and I would rather break a bone than tearing a ligament any
Hmm.
day, because with the recovery from with my leg as well, because I wasn't training and I was used to such high intensity work on my legs from dancing, my kneecaps would dislocate because there was
Hmm.
nothing there holding everything together. So I had to get an operation to stop my knee from dislocating, because I would just put my straighten my leg and relax, and it would just pop out a joint.
Yeah,
It was
that
crazy.
even hearing it, like, it just hurts, that's such
I
a
know, I'm
it's
sorry.
it's a such a hard injury. But what's crazy is I hear so many stories like that from skiing, like a lot of
Yeah,
skiing, like huge skiing injuries, like all the time. And just like, regular people, I'm not even talking about news or anything, but just a lot of
yeah,
people I hear say, "Oh, I was skiing and, you know, I don't know, hit a tree, hit a wrong jump."
yeah.
Like, is that common? Do you hear that a lot?
Yes, definitely. It is really, really common. The amount of people that break their wrists or whatever from skiing and snowboarding is crazy. But it is really a popular sport over
Mhm.
here in Scotland as well.
Mm.
And I wasn't a beginner when I had my injury, but I'll
Yeah.
never do it again. It's
Yeah.
completely put me off snow sports, that's for
Well,
sure.
I was gonna ask you, did you ever ski again after that? I guess
No.
not. No. Yeah.
No, definitely not. I think I'll never, especially in my bodybuilding career, because this means so much to me. There's
Mhm.
no chance I'll be going on a pair of skis.
Yeah, that makes sense. Don't want to risk it again. So you get over this injury, you start getting into training during your recovery. I guess as time goes on, I'm assuming you mentally kind of get out of that funk, your legs gets better. Then how do you get into the rest of your story with training and competing, really?
So once I started in the gym, because I was there for rehab, I didn't do the thing that typically girls do when they enter the gym. I went right into the weights area, which is probably,
Where all
well,
the guys are. Yeah.
it's went in my favor now, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would be sitting researching on bodybuilding.com forums at the time,
Mhm.
watching all the videos on how to use the exercise correctly, etc. Because
Mhm.
I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And because of my past with being so competitive, and I would say I've got quite an addictive personality as well,
Mhm.
the gym became my passion. So I started to get into it full time. And then I went over, I was studying to be a mechanical engineer at the time, and I absolutely hated it. I I absolutely hated it. So I decided to take a year off and I went over to America and worked in a summer camp.
Okay.
So I worked in a summer camp for the summer, traveled around the States for a little while after, and realized that I enjoyed working and helping people,
Hmm.
like helping little kids swim, play golf, etc. Was so fulfilling for me.
Yeah.
So when I got back home to Scotland, I thought it would be a good idea to potentially put my gym passion and my love for helping people together. So I went and did a personal training course. And then on that personal training course, I met a girl who did competitions. And we got talking and it just fascinated me. I started doing my own research, having a look at federations, etc. And I just thought, why not? Let's give this a try and see how I get on. I am from a very, very small city up the top of Aberdeen,
Hmm.
up the top of Scotland, and nobody does this where I'm from. This is all a taboo. So like nobody knew what
Hmm.
like a bodybuilding competition was. They'd maybe seen a couple of pictures with people wear covered in
Yeah.
orange tan, but they never really understood what it was. So I was one of the first up in my area to
Hmm.
compete, and the rest is history, really. I found my passion. I found what I'm destined for.
That's interesting. So how did everyone like take it as far as like you competing like in the town or your family? Did anybody like have, opinions?
It was very rough to begin with, because I think with anything new, everybody has to have their opinion. So I
Hmm.
had a lot of opinions being thrown at me, people saying that it wasn't the right thing to do,
Hmm.
saying that it was, I've had everything thrown at me, disgusting, manly, you name it. But
Hmm.
my family came around a few months into my prep when they seen what it actually entailed and
Hmm.
how much passion that I actually had for it. And they are so supportive now, and everybody in my area is so supportive. There's been numerous different people competing now, which is awesome. And I think it's just like in Scotland, there is just, it's not the same as what it is over in either even the rest of the UK
Yeah.
or in England. So it's been good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good that everything kind of turned around for you, but I'm sure you had to kind of, I don't want to say not like listen to people, but just kind
Yeah.
of focus on, on your goals, like to get through that. Cause that's a lot. Like, being the first to do anything is tough. And it's like to be first to bodybuild is even tougher because it's such a niche activity. It's such a niche sport. It's not mainstream. It's not football. It's not, anything like that. So it's a very unique, sport, and a lot of people don't really understand it or even, care for it. So it's a lot, that's a lot for you to go through, but you obviously have, accomplished what you were, wanting to do.
I honestly think bodybuilding is probably one of the hardest sports in the world, for the fact that every single minute of your day has to be revolved around
Hmm.
bodybuilding, from how much sleep you get, from your food, your water, your training, your cardio. Everything in your life has to be focused around bodybuilding. So for somebody that's never seen a body, but like an athlete or somebody that is competing for a competition,
Hmm.
it can be a little bit difficult, like going out to see my family or my grandparents, and they would offer me a biscuit and I'm like, sorry, I can't,
Yeah.
I'm doing a competition. And they don't understand why you can't have this
Yeah.
this little biscuit. It breaks their heart. That's probably the hardest thing, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest.
Oh, very true. If you ever went to my grandparents' home, you would completely go off your prep. There's no, you
Yeah.
you couldn't even step in there. That's
I know that's probably the hardest thing out of it
Mhm.
all, because no matter how many times I explain to my grandparents what I'm doing, each time they're like, "Oh, just a little bit."
That's funny. That's just like every grandparent there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what division are you do you compete in?
I compete in the figure division, but I actually started as a bikini athlete. So I competed in my first show in 2018.
Mhm.
I came second in that show.
Mhm.
I then went on to compete at the British finals, where I won that show and then won the overall. So
Mhm.
after that competition, I realized that I had ticked off that ticked off that ticked off that class, because the my feedback was already that I'm way too big for bikini,
Oh,
basically.
really? Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's a problem for bikini. Yeah, because those girls are trying to, not be as big.
I don't have the glutes. I don't have the glutes that the bikini girls
Mm.
have either. I've got big delts, a big back. So naturally it was just my transition to have an improvement season and then potentially go into figure. So I competed again the following year in 2019, competed in a regional show, came second in that, and then went over to Italy, competed to try and get my pro card, and I won that there. So
Awesome.
luckily,
That's
I was one very lucky person to win it so quickly.
Yeah, that was very fast. So it was literally what after one figure competition, then you went to Italy.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, that's almost unheard of. That's tough to do. Yeah, in the States, it's very tough to do. Would you say, see, I personally thought that in Europe it would be more difficult to get a pro card. Was that just your situation, or is it pretty quickly for everyone in Europe to get pro cards?
I don't personally know. I just think
Hmm.
I was just very lucky at the time that
Hmm.
I was competing. Round about the time I was competing, I think there was maybe 5 European shows
Hmm.
round about like a 4 week period. So I think it was just, I'm not saying that it was lucky. I worked my butt off to get that pro
Yes.
card
Hmm.
win, but yeah, I think there was just a few different shows that kind of spaced out the athletes a little
Gotcha.
bit as well. But
Gotcha.
I only think there's maybe 5 figure pros in the UK. There's
So not
not
a
a lot
lot,
left.
not a lot of opportunity to
No.
win a pro card. Well, that's amazing. So I excuse me. So did you at that point did you start competing in the pro shows?
So when I won my pro card, I knew that if I wanted to be competitive in the IFBB Pro League, I would have needed to take at least 12 months of
Hmm.
an improvement season. So from September 2019 until now, I've been in an improvement season. I've just recently just started my prep for my pro debut.
Okay, well, that's great. What are you planning on? Like what show?
Fingers crossed, I'll be coming over to the States. New York Pro, Orlando Pro, Vancouver Pro, and LA Pro. They're all round about the same time.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
I'm just going to come over to the States and basically spend the whole month there.
Yeah, and just knock them out and go ahead and rack up those wins.
It's just more for experience. I think going
Mhm.
from the amateur league to the pro league is a totally different ball game, isn't
Gotcha.
it? The girls are
Yeah.
absolutely incredible, but I'm only 24 years old, so
Mhm.
time is essentially on my hands. So
Right, right.
just to
You've got a
get as
lot.
much,
You've got a lot of
yeah.
time to develop. Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this: you come over, you do a show, right? And man, you end up winning one. Now that qualifies you for the Olympia, right? So are you coming back? Are you gonna
Of
come?
course.
Even come back?
Oh yes,
So
definitely.
okay, because some people don't do it. Like some people will say, "Oh, like I'll pass on the Olympia," which is to me is crazy. But
So
yeah.
the Olympia is basically something like winning my IFBB Pro card was my ultimate dream, and now my next step would essentially be getting to the Olympia.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I got the opportunity to go there, I would take it in a second.
Yeah. So
Same with
go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
same with if I was in the points to if I was super
Mhm.
close, I would do show after show after show until I got that invite.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is that point system. I just, yeah, I didn't know like how, I mean, you're going to hit like what for 4 or 5 shows when you're here. So you potentially, could get it on points, but see there's a lot of questions involved. I'm hoping that what doesn't happen to you is you book your stuff, come over here, and then the shows get canceled. That's the fear,
Yeah, I
especially not
know.
being local.
Yeah, I think right now where I'm just trying to focus on the day
Mhm.
ahead rather than focus on what's going to come in the upcoming months. There is a European show in Portugal, so I know if I can't get over to the States, I'll just compete in Portugal
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
July. But ideally, I would love to do my first pro debut over
In the
in
States.
America because I just love the States so much.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's smart for you to do several shows because even if one or two get canceled, there's less chance of all of them, getting canceled. So, how did you get a chance to see the Olympia this last year?
Yes,
You did.
I had it downloaded. The standard was just absolutely
Mhm.
incredible
Yeah.
across all divisions. It was amazing.
Was there anything that like stood out to you about the show?
It was a little bit different compared to last year, but I loved it.
Mhm.
The girls in figure looked really big this year.
Mhm.
Um, but it is it is still all with the figure division. It is still all about structure and shape as well.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's the most important thing.
Mhm. Do you like in your opinion, what is your most, like, how can I put this? A body part that you most need improvement on?
My butt.
Your butt. Okay, for
Yeah. Yeah, my butt. I'm because of my dancing, I'm quite quad dominant.
Mhm.
So during my improvement season, it has built up a lot, that's for sure. Um, my physique is now a lot more balanced than what it was a couple of years ago,
Mhm.
and because of my swimming as well, I have got quite predominant delts, which is good.
Mhm.
But yeah, the glutes is definitely the area that I've worked literally my butt off this past year
No
to
pun
get bigger.
intended. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
no pun intended.
that's so funny. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. So like everything else, so you kind of feel like you've got like what it takes. Cuz yeah, those girls are coming in much bigger now. And the interesting thing is the bikini girls are coming in bigger too. Like everyone is coming in bigger across the board.
Yeah, but I think one thing that I've just got to be patient with is time to
Mhm.
get that density and to get that muscle maturity as well, because that's when that is one thing that you do see on the Olympia stage is that they are all very, very dense and their muscle
Mhm.
bellies are they're really hard.
Yeah, but a lot of that comes from time. Like,
Yeah.
getting in.
Time's the biggest factor.
Right. Time, and then of course like getting in great conditioning, that's really because a lot of those girls are just peeled, especially the top five, It's how's your like diet during your prep? Are you a person that like keeps carbs in throughout most of your prep? Are
Yep.
you do? Okay.
So be I just basically follow a set meal plan, but carbohydrates basically get kept in throughout. I'm not going to lie, at the back end of a contest prep, I'm maybe eating. I'm only 5'2", so
Uh-huh. Oh wow, okay.
my calories at the back end of a contest prep are sub 1200.
Gotcha.
Um, but yeah, we, yeah, I would say carbs do have to go low at that time, but
Mhm.
I've not got a problem getting peeled.
Yeah.
I absolutely love getting diced, and
Nice.
luckily my body does it, which is
Nice.
good.
Great, great. Yeah, only suggestion I would say is that when you come over, make sure like you have a little bit of time before your first show, just because the plane can put water in places where you don't want it, things like that.
Yeah, that's what I did when I went over to Italy compete. Although the flight's much shorter, I
Hmm.
went over a week beforehand just
Yeah,
to make sure that I was settled in, and just basically got comfortable with my surroundings,
yeah.
etc. So, yeah, I'll definitely be coming over to the States in plenty time because you guys have got awesome gyms, you've got awesome food, you've got amazing supermarkets that I'll just be in my glory.
Yeah, there you go. And you can actually like train here because the gyms are pretty much open. Now again, it depends where you go. Like LA isn't a bad place. LA, you don't want to go like anywhere in California, but most places, they're open to limited capacity. So you should be good to go.
Florida's okay just now, isn't it?
Yeah, Florida is all right. Yeah, Florida is, I mean, obviously, cases are rising everywhere, but as far as like stuff being open, yeah, it's like limited capacity gyms and such. So I think you're in good shape. You just probably want to check it before you fly out. So,
Fingers crossed we
right.
can fly because I think the flights are restricted just
Yeah.
now as well. But I think I did read somewhere that if you are a professional athlete, you are actually you can come over,
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think they do like, and I'm not 100% sure because I haven't flown yet, but there's some kind of testing where maybe they test you before, or maybe when you land. I don't know, or maybe you have to quarantine when you land.
Yeah.
A lot of countries have different rules, for that kind of thing. So, but yeah, but you just go through the process, through the bureaucracy, and then just compete. That's what you're there for, right? So
Fingers
yeah,
crossed,
yeah.
fingers crossed. I'm honestly dying to come over to the States, especially to get a cheesecake factory after.
Oh, no. That's I love Cheesecake Factory. Yeah,
I know.
it's really
It's
good.
epic.
Yeah, that's funny. Do you guys have one there now?
No.
No?
No, I think there's one over in Dubai and then obviously in the States, but yeah, we don't have anything like that.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, it's so funny, like, 'cause some places everyone has, and then other places are, like, very limited, Like, there's a McDonald's everywhere,
Yeah.
but, like, something like Cheesecake Factory, it's like it's obviously not there's very limited, amount of them, so so what about your training as a trainer? Do you mostly train people that are like lifestyle, or do you mostly train competitors, prepping them for shows?
So naturally over the couple of years, it's basically transitioned into more competitive clients.
Hmm.
So when I first started in the industry, is I was still learning and going through my diploma, etc.
Hmm.
I just focused on helping lifestyle clients
Yeah.
achieve their goals. And then the more experience I got and the more knowledge I got, I started taking on competitive
Hmm.
clients. And basically, the way my business is going now is I will eventually just have all
Yeah.
competitive clients because that is what my passion is. I love helping people get to stage, and we're all like-minded individuals
Hmm.
as well. We've all got the drive, we've all got the focus, we're all meticulous with our training and nutrition, and that's the kind of people that I want to help. Like, don't get me
Hmm.
wrong, I do love helping general pop, I do love helping lifestyle clients, but um coaching people for stage would
Yeah.
be my passion.
Well, it's different, right? It's different. The mentality is different. Someone that's just trying to lose a little weight versus someone who's trying to win something, who's trying to win a competition. Um, and, dare I say, like a championship mentality. That's kind of like the
Yes.
people that you're dealing with, and that's exciting, to help somebody to reach such a definitive goal, right? Like, because losing weight is obviously great and that's important for people, but when you're there and you're number one and you get your hand and trophy, and all that, it's very definitive. Like, and I think that's like kind of like what you appreciate about coaching people like that is what it sounds like.
they are just their willingness to learn as well
Hmm.
is awesome. I think prep clients, they want to understand the process, they want to learn along the way, and that's one of the most important aspects of my coaching. I
Yeah.
enjoy educating people, is so they don't need me forever.
Yeah.
But it's like a lifestyle client, it can be a little bit more tricky.
Right, right. That's true.
Because they,
Th- That's interesting that you said that. I've heard someone else say that too in the past. Now I can't remember who it was, but they said that they want to be a coach for you that you don't, at some point you don't need anymore. And that's, I thought that was really interesting. You're the only other person that I've heard say that. It's because, I want to get you to a point where you don't need me anymore. And it's so like contradictory to what most people think, like, oh, I want to be a coach for as long as possible. But it's like your goal is to give them the knowledge and the ability to be able to coach themselves and maybe even others, and and I think that goes a long way. I think, people will appreciate that a lot more, you know?
when I first started out in the industry and when I competed in my first show, I had a coach who basically just said, just do as I say and don't ask any questions. And
That's
that's one
terrible.
I know. And there's a lot of coaches over here that have the same principle. And it's something that I really do not agree with. And it's what I want to change in the
Mhm.
industry. So girls are actually educated as to why their macros are what they are,
Right.
why they're drinking that much water, why they're training the way that they are, just
Right.
so they gain an understanding along the way as well. Because I didn't have that when I was a beginner.
Right, right. Yeah, very true. And also, let's not forget. I mean, we're not all, children. We're not in school. This isn't a teacher. It's a student situation. You're a person that's paying. You're paying money to be coached. You would like to know more than just do this, do that. So that's, you want to get your money's worth. And I think that what you're providing is giving people their money's worth. Like they're not just getting in good shape, excuse me, one time. They're getting the blueprint how to get in good shape every time. So I think that's important for
And
sure.
when you start educating people, people will invest in you back.
Yeah.
Although they get the tools and they get the fundamentals, they'll want to keep you because they'll keep learning more. I think with this sport as well, you're forever learning something new. Like it's a never ending process, in my opinion.
Sure. And then whenever they talk with somebody else and something comes up, they'll always remember you. They'll recommend you to
Yeah.
them, and it goes a long way. You have a bad experience with a coach, you're never recommending that person. That's never, I mean, you're just not. That's not going to happen. So it's like you said, it's an investment. So all right. Well, if you want to go ahead and kind of wrap up with plugging in your training, how people can get in contact with you, like so that you can help them with online coaching.
Well, firstly, thank you so much for
Mm,
having me on.
of course.
My Instagram is erint.ifbbpro. And I have got a podcast called the Be Undeniable Podcast, which is
Awesome. So
available on Apple and Spotify.
awesome. So like we're both. I didn't realize that you ran a podcast too. That's great. So I'll be making sure that I put everything down in the description so people are able to reach out to you and listen to your show.
Perfect. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you, Aaron. I really appreciate it. You have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Take care.